Hey guys, I'm back. We're looking at something else new from Olight, and it's going to be a little bit different because Olight has given us some great, high-quality, high-powered lights. This is going to be one that's not going to be for helping you exactly see in the dark, but I'll tell you what, as I was looking this over, I did wish I had this with me on some deployment stuff. You know what? See, I'm so excited. I can't keep myself straight. This is not going to appeal to everyone because not everyone is going to have a need for this. But who needs a good UV light? And I'll tell you what, I can think of many times downrange, out in the field, in desert areas, where you're doing all sorts of shaking stuff out, looking for creepy crawly things, hoping they're not in sleeping bags, in folded up clothes, in boots. And there's not a lot of scorpions or different kind of arachnid types that you're really that concerned about, killing you, or at least biting you real bad. But as chance will have it, as evolution has rewarded us, the really nasty ones glow when you shine UV on them. So this would have been awesome to have, this little light, the i3UV EOS. So we're going to look at that, and this is being introduced by Olight on October 31st, Halloween. What a great day to have it. And there's other uses for UV too, obviously, but that's just when I was talking to the folks at Olight and they mentioned this, the first thing I thought of was, damn it, why didn't you have that several years ago? I would have taken it downrange with me, but here it is now. So I'm probably actually going to send this to a friend of mine who still does field work. He's an air advisor, which means, ooh, look at the color. That's cool. Which means that he deploys and he trains. Right now he's in Iraq. Yeah, pretty sure. I don't know. Anyway, so he trains the locals, their military, on how to do things like what we did, which was call in close air support. Excuse me. How to talk to pilots and rack and stack air power and tell them how to get from point A to point B without smashing into each other. And believe me, the Iraqi Air Force needs as much help as they can get, just flying in circles in the sky without smashing into each other, let alone do everything else. So this would probably be very useful to him downrange. So let's see, what do we got? We got a README, which is opening up, very simple packaging. Now, this is going to be a little bit different because when we look at something like this, we're not worried about lumens, or max range or anything. It's a different kind of light. It's very simple, very small, very lightweight. And, I gathered some of the other small, the EOS series kind of lights that Olight has put out just to compare. So this is not the one I normally carry. The one I normally carry is actually buried on this workbench. Actually, I can dig it out. Here it is. I have carried this for quite a while. You can see it's gotten quite a bit of work, but I normally carry this when I go to the shop and stuff. This is a great little light. It's a, visible light spectrum, regular, light. All right, pause, hold on. I'm doing this after the fact because I realized that if I don't throw this little clip in with some real talk about visible light, light spectrum, and ultraviolet, some living in mom's basement pseudoscience geek is going to say something like, but you said visible light and UV light and I see light and it's visible and I can see it. All right, so here we go, guys. Here's how it works. There is a visible light spectrum. Let's take a look at the visible light spectrum, okay? The human eye, in general's ability to perceive light ends at violet, okay? The lens of the human eye blocks most radiation in the wavelength somewhere between 300 and 400 nanometers. You can't see it. You can't see it. What we can see is the light refracted around that wavelength, right? And a UV light with a wavelength, and I recognize that I will screw up a little bit in this video talking about the difference between wavelength and frequency. They're two separate things. So a UV light with a wavelength of 395 nanometers, theoretically, technically, you cannot see the actual ultraviolet light. You can see the light that's refracted around it. Okay, so when I'm talking about visible wavelength versus other, imperceivable wavelength. Like, okay, so I'm again always, my brain is stuck in military mode, and there's a switch I can't get out of. We had to do a lot of training and learn about the electromagnetic spectrum and, you know, visible light in terms of what your eye can pick up versus what sensor pods work in, targeting pods, laser designators, because laser is a form of light, right? Ultraviolet, there are ultraviolet lasers that you can't see that we use to designate targets. There's infrared, there's ultraviolet, there's near ultraviolet. Ultra, the name means violet. Violet is the last color you can see on that spectrum. Ultra is Latin for beyond. So technically you just can't see it. Now, some younger people, due to the health of the eye and the lens, they some can see UV, actual UV refraction, all the way down to 310 nanometers. Okay, and the UV part of the spectrum goes from 10 to 400 nanometers. So in that very, very, very small area where this light functions, you may possibly see a little bit of it. But from a scientific standpoint, it counts as not visible spectrum, even if you can see some of the other light around it. I mean, I'm quoting scientific sources here. 400 nanometers is shorter than the visible light spectrum, but longer than X-rays. Ultraviolet rays are invisible to most humans. I mean, the complete range that the human eye can see in is 380 to 740 nanometers. But that's like the whole range where the human eye can see. That's not where every single human being can see. And that's all of the Roy G. Biv colors, going from red all the way to violet. Now, if you have any questions on this, feel free to contact the United States Air Force Weapons School, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada. We had 2 complete 15-hour days instruction on electromagnetic spectrum. It's not fun stuff, but once it's in there, it's in there. So I apologize for any confusion. On with the show. Two speeds, we'll say. We just saw the i3T recently. Again, another lightweight pocket-sized light. So size-wise, this fits neatly into the EOS line. It is very lightweight. I think it's just slightly heavier than this guy. Let's see, do we have some specs on here? We do. Let me show you some specs. Only one you really care about on here really is you know, the weight. We need to remove little plastic, there it is. So it comes with one AAA powered, not rechargeable, replaceable, but, and there's your little nub to the front. So what kinds of things can you use a UV light for? Well, you can use a UV as a lower powered light that you can still illuminate some stuff. Not as much as you would see with like a regular visible light spectrum light. You can use it really great with night vision devices. Okay, you can use UV sensitive type paint, and I have some that we can see here. Glow in the dark paint works great with UV light, so you can do markings and stuff with UV paint, glow in the dark paint. Now here's glow in the dark paint. I have some plain old fluorescent paint up here somewhere that I will show you and I will demonstrate. Now these are for models. This is general arts and crafts. UV is great for charging glow-in-the-dark stuff. I'm going to turn the lights down here so that I can demonstrate how this works a little bit. So let's just turn it on and just demonstrate. So here's UV light compared to just, visible light. And you can see that you can still illuminate some stuff, but if you're worried about protecting night vision, the UV light works really well. Now, when you get something bright white in front of UV light, it is going to shine that very brightly. Almost make it look glow in the dark. When you get UV sensitive colors and stuff, so this is a blue bottle of paint, but it's UV sensitive. So it's a fluorescent blue. It's going to shine very brightly. This is glow in the dark paint, right? And actually I have room lights I'm going to turn down. Now there's an open window behind me, but glow in the dark paint, UV light, and now it glows. Something else I wanted to demonstrate with Tool Bright. You guys have seen this before, right? This is a really good glow-in-the-dark type material. UV light is awesome for charging up glow-in-the-dark things. So you could use this to charge up glow-in-the-dark materials that you want to glow. So there's a lot of good uses for a UV light to have, besides just looking for scorpions and other creepy things that might sneak into where you're at. One of the things you could do is use glow-in-the-dark or fluorescent paints as trail markers. It's, you know, you would see a fluorescent blue, for example, on a tree during the daytime. Then at nighttime, though, where it might be hard, or fluorescent yellow, or whatever color, I'm just saying, where it might be hard to see that color with a regular spectrum light, you know, even at night, you're gonna see this bright up very clearly with a UV light, even a small one like this, as you're walking back, you know, to your campsite or whatever. This is a fluorescent orange. Think about that, you know, as your trail marker. You're just putting little dots of it or some kind of design on trees, on rocks, whatever, to mark your path, so that you want to find your way back, and you're using this at night to spot that. That's going to be pretty good. Now, I'll demonstrate again with like a bright flashlight, like a white light flashlight. I mean, that's good. You can see orange, right? But look at the difference in UV light, how bright that becomes versus just seeing orange. I mean, so there's a lot of cool uses for a UV light besides the obvious stuff. There are actually some inks that you can use that are UV sensitive, so that while you're not destroying your night vision completely, you can still write things and draw things like on a map that will become brighter in the UV light. I like this a lot. Now you can also buy a full-size, you know, UV flashlight, and I have you can also buy a full-size UV flashlight, and I have one around here somewhere. When I say full-size, I mean it's, you know, about like a pen light size. They make really big ones too, but those are big, expensive, they get hot, and in reality, you don't need one that's bigger than this. I mean, I have this about a foot behind the camera now, and it's still doing a really good job. It's lightweight, key ring, gets a little warm, but not too bad. And, you know, you got the Olight quality behind there. I'm actually, I gotta be honest, I'm pretty, you know, I wasn't sure how well this was gonna do, but this is pretty good. I'm hoping that Olight will actually make a larger, kind of more M2R Warrior, M1X Striker sized UV light. If they do, I'm gonna buy one. But this is a really cool thing to have. And the fact that it's so small, you could put it anywhere, pack it anywhere, bring it anywhere, get a lot of good use out of it. So check the link in the video description for a link right to the Olight website direct, because when they release these new products, they always have a cool sale for you. And you can pick one up early and save some money. And who doesn't like to do both of those things? So, as you guys watch this video, if you have some other cool uses, I mean, I just named a few of the good outdoor uses for ultraviolet lights that I've seen, that I know of. If you guys have more and you want to share some cool ideas, please do comment. Let everybody know what kind of cool things do you do with UV lights. I mean, there's a lot of them. And then, of course, there's the obvious. If you want to look and do crime scene investigations and look for bodily fluids, you can do that too. I left that out because I think we've all seen enough Law and Order to know that's how it's done. But there are really cool uses for UV lights, and please, let's all, you know, share good ideas and stuff. If there's any good, cool, practical hunting uses for them, again, throw those in. I'm honestly not sure, but what do you guys think? Anybody interested in picking one of these up? I might just go and invest in a few more just to keep around in various places, so I, you know, have access to them in various places. In the video description, you'll also find a link to the M2 Pro Warrior video, which is released same day as this little guy. So 2 new cool Olight products coming out that you can check out. But I hope this is exciting to some folks. I think it is. I like it. So as always, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. You are all absolutely awesome. And I will be back again real soon.